Hi, Sandra Wilson here, clinical hypnotherapist, and I work a lot with many different conditions, but anxiety, trauma and ADHD are three key areas that I'm focusing on at the moment. So I've noticed that sometimes people ask questions like, can ADHD be a result of trauma in childhood? Is it caused by trauma in childhood? And as far as we're aware, ADHD has biological and genetic roots, so it's not directly caused by adverse childhood experiences. And it's also important to note that not enough research really has been done into the effects of childhood trauma. But we know that having traumatic experiences as a child can sometimes mimic or exacerbate ADHD symptoms. So children who experience trauma such as abuse, neglect or long-term chronic stress might develop symptoms that resemble ADHD. So that could include difficulty concentrating, impulsivity, and emotional dysregulation. So these symptoms could also be part of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or other related conditions rather than ADHD. And of course, trauma and ADHD can co-occur. So a child with ADHD may be more vulnerable to trauma and vice versa. So trauma can also lead to misdiagnosis. So a traumatized child might be diagnosed with ADHD when the root cause is actually more likely to be trauma, or an ADHD diagnosis might be missed in a traumatized child. So it's not my role as a therapist to diagnose. I am not qualified to diagnose either of these conditions. But what we do know is that whether it's ADHD or trauma, there are things that you can do to feel better. Now, of course, no type of therapy is ever going to cure ADHD, but trauma experiences in childhood, they can show up in adult life in so many different ways, including difficulty forming relationships, problems with low self-esteem, and problems with being able to regulate emotions. So the treatment paths can be very different for both trauma and ADHD, including medication. But trauma symptoms can be helped by a therapy like hypnotherapy, where we really do work on the underlying drivers behind the traumatic symptoms and how they show up in later life. But also with ADHD, just working on self-acceptance, helping you to regulate your emotions and just feel a little better about being who you are in a world that just feels very difficult to fit into. So anyway, again, we're not sure really exactly what the link is between ADHD and trauma, but we know that certain types of therapy can be very helpful at helping people to feel better. So I hope that's helped. Bye for now.